Welcome to F1 for Sports, where passion meets precision. As I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. And to get into weekly sports talk with Ed, episode 67, let's start with the Eagles and Bills and how they've continued to struggle. And I really don't know what's going on with these two teams. With the Eagles, both these teams started 4-0, and they've both dropped back-to-back games. With the Eagles, the offensive coordinator, Kevin Paluto, he has not been good. The offensive scheme has not been great. And Jalen Hurts has had a new offensive coordinator every year in his career since college. So it's hard to succeed, and he's made it work. But in those first four games that we won, had 4 one-score games. And then one of those was a 19-point comeback versus the Rams, which we ended up winning. And then the other one was against the Bucks, which we almost blew that game. The Bucks, they didn't have Mike Evans. They were almost able to come back. And then after that, after going 4-0, beating the Buccaneers finally, which has been a hard thing for Hurts to do in his career with the Eagles. Blew an 18-point lead to the Broncos. Just very undisciplined game. Just can't have that happen. Up 18 going to the fourth quarter. You can't lose that game. And the Broncos, this is what helped them get back in the playoff position. They're 4-2 now, sitting at second in the AFC West. A much-needed win for them at that time. And then the Eagles, we played the Giants. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboot destroyed us. Put up 34 points, won 34-17. And now going into Sunday, we play the Vikings, who are 3-2, and they're looking to get a win in a tough conference that they play in, a tough division in the NFC North. So they're looking to get that win. Carson Wentz is looking to get revenge. I think we should be able to win this game, but Saquon Barkley isn't having a good season. When Jalen Hurts has had the most passing yards, it's when we've lost games, aside from the Rams game where we came back and won. But Jalen Hurts says we aren't playing winning football right now. So we'll see what happens. But these problems are very glaring. It's no clear favorite at this point in the season, which usually isn't. But at least you know, well, by week 6 or 7, there's at least 2 or 3 teams who are pretty confident that they can make a run. But with the Eagles, it's not a guarantee that they go back to the Super Bowl, even though it's very possible. But with the way the Bucks have played, they're 5-1, had a great season. Their only losses came against the Eagles, who were just in the Super Bowl, like I said. And there was a game that they almost came back in, and they didn't have Mike Evans, and they're getting Mike Evans back this week. So we'll see what happens. I don't know who they play, but the Bucks will probably get a win this week with Mike Evans back in the lineup. And then the Bills, they have a complete opposite problem as the Eagles. Their offensive team is bad, but the defenses look good for the most part. While the Bills, their defenses look bad all season, but the offense has been elite. They have scored 30-plus points in 4 different games. And it has been against weaker competition. They gave up 40 points to the Ravens in week 1, and a game that they shouldn't have won. The Ravens really just gave that game up. I don't know how they allowed that to happen. But even watching that game, it was like they're up 15. The Ravens shouldn't be in position to blow this game. And the Bills shouldn't have been down that much. So week 1 was just a really weird week. And then they played the Jets, the Saints, the Dolphins following that. So the Bills do have a very favorable schedule. Now, 2 of those teams are in their division. So it's like you're playing the Dolphins and Jets. You can't avoid that. Those are division rivals that you have to play each year, twice each year. And then the one division rival that's actually competent, the Patriots, ended up beating them by 3. And then the Falcons beat them by 10. Bijan Robinson had a great game. I think he had over 200 total yards. I could be wrong, but he had a great game. And now the Falcons, the Patriots are now first in the AFC East. They picked up some big wins, beating the Saints, beating the Bills in the division game. Now they're both 4-2, but the Patriots are at the top of the AFC East for the first time in a while. I think the last time they were at the top of the AFC East this early into the season was in 2021. And Drake May is looking great. Now they have a bye this week, but their next game is against the Panthers. And that defense is so bad that Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle, they could both be very explosive in that game. They're gonna look amazing against the Bills. And I don't know who to play. I gotta check to see who the Panthers play in this week. I can check the Panthers and Bucks as I'm doing this. But the Panthers got the Jets, so they should be able to win that. And then the Buccaneers, as I mentioned them, the Buccaneers they play on Monday. They play the Lions. That's going to be entertaining. But yeah, the Bills and the Eagles, they're both in the same situation. Started 4-0, lost back-to-back games. but it's so different at the same time because the Eagles' offenses look bad, or mediocre. I wouldn't say bad. We've had a few decent games, while the defense has been pretty good for the most part, which is surprising with the pieces that we lost. Hopefully, we can get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. I think he just fits best in Philly. And then with the Bills, the offense has looked amazing. Granted, it's against weak opponents, but you have to play who's on your schedule. And the defense just looked bad. So we've seen what Bijan was able to do. We've seen what Drake May did. So I'm interested to see what Bryce Young and Rico Dowdle and Xavier Legette can do next week because it's going to be very interesting. Now, transitioning to the MLB, the Dodgers advanced to the World Series once again. The Mariners take a 3-2 lead over the Blue Jays. I'll talk about the Dodgers first since it's not too much to talk about. They swept the Brewers. I didn't trust the Dodgers going into the series because of how they won versus the Phillies, but they proved me wrong. Those same mistakes that they made against the Phillies, they didn't make in this series. They seen that, and they improved on that throughout the playoffs, which the Dodgers have been elite. But the team has been elite in general, but since All-Star break is when they really started to pick it up, and now they're looking even better. The Dodgers, they won 5-1 last night in Game 4. Shohei Ohtani had one of, if not the greatest individual game ever. I said this in a short that I made with 3 home runs and 10 strikeouts. I really just talked about what Shohei Ohtani did last night since he was the story of the game and story of the series. Since he wasn't having the greatest series, wasn't having the greatest playoffs in general, and there was a lot of noise about it. And then he delivered when they needed him most. So shout out to Shohei Ohtani. But to cover a few other players, or another player on the team, Will Smith, he had 2 hits and 1 run. And shout out to Will Smith. He did his thing throughout the series. And the Dodgers, they need every piece that the Dodgers need. It's probably like everybody plays a role. Like them getting Blake Snell in the offseason after winning the World Series. I was like, it's no way that they can pull this off. And they actually did it. So the Dodgers look great. They're headed back to the World Series. The Brewers look bad. Terrain went 0-3, and Freeland went 0-4. So you having 2 of your better players go 0-7 at bat. Can't get a single hit. Not going to win a game like that. And this is the game. They also played 4 pitchers in this game. This is the game where you need the most effort. Like the Brewers showed no fight. It didn't seem like they even cared at this point. Which I'm sure that they care, but just the way that they played, they showed no fight, no effort. They were down 4-0 at one point. Ended up losing by 4 runs. Shohei Ohtani struck out 10 people and also hit 3 home runs. So it's, tough matchup for the Brewers. But I feel the Brewers had chances, but it was some mistakes that they made. But the Dodgers didn't make mistakes, which is important. Because if you're not making mistakes, you can't lose. So, I mean, you still could in theory, but you get the point. And now for the Mariners and Blue Jays game, this was entertaining. Even though it ended 6-2, it wasn't a blowout the entire time. Suarez had the grand slam in the 8th inning that basically won them the game. That won them game 5 to put them up 6-2. He had 5 RBIs and 2 home runs after that. But Cal Raleigh had a solo home run earlier, and that was to tie the game, if I'm not mistaken. They were down 2-1, and he tied the game. And it was 9 total pitchers in this game. Seattle used 5, Toronto used 4, which I guess it makes sense to use more pitchers as the series gets closer and tighter in this game 5. Both teams needing to win here. Obviously, every win is a must win in the playoffs, but game 5 is super important because you want the momentum completely in your direction. The Blue Jays had just won back-to-back games, and so all the momentum was on their side, even though it was in Seattle. And Seattle had just dropped back-to-back games at their home stadium. Then, like I said, Toronto led 2-1 after the 6th inning, and Cal Raleigh had the solo home run to tie the game. Varsho and Gimenez both went 0-4 separately at bat, so that wasn't helpful for them. Can't win a game like that if you both go 0-4. So you had 2 of your better players go 0-8 combined. So it's just hard to win like that, and they ended up losing 6-2. Now the game, they are playing game 6 tonight. I think the Blue Jays can take it. I would prefer the Mariners to win it and get it done with, so they can advance to the World Series, which is the Dodgers and Mariners is the World Series I wanted. So hopefully I get that. I don't want to, even though Game 7 would be cool, I don't know if I want to see it because I think Game 7 will be played. Well, it might be played on a Monday, so that could fit into my schedule. But we'll see what happens with that. Now, moving into the main topic of the show, the top 10 players in the NBA. So the top 10 players in the NBA, I already did point guards, shooting. Well, I started with centers, did power forwards, did small forwards, did shooting guards, did point guards, did it through videos, did it through shorts. I don't know if I did any of them on a live stream. I don't think I did. But now I'm going to be doing it on my podcast, and I'm going to go from 10 to 1. And same criteria as always. I take the sample size of 3 years because I think that's what shows me the most of what you're able to do. Because you could have one good season and just completely fall off. So I can't trust just having one good season. So these guys, they have the playoff runs they have within the last 3 years. And so I think defense is going to play a big factor into the guys I have here, all NBA teams, stuff like that. Because it's only out of the 5 players that was on all NBA first team, it's only one that I don't have in my top 5, which I think you can figure out for yourselves. But he's in the top 10, though. I got him at 8. He's just not in the top 5. But starting at number 10, Kawhi Leonard. Despite him not having the games played, he still made a huge impact for the Clippers. Still played great. Still looks good defensively. Was able to come back, had a good playoff series. They weren't able to win this past season, but they definitely had a chance. Shout out to James Harden because he did a good job, and Norman Powell. They both did a good job with the Clippers, keeping them afloat and keeping them in the playoff hunt. But Kawhi Leonard, I think he's been an all-star once or twice in the last 3 years. But Kawhi is super impactful. Despite his injuries, he's able to come back and just fit in like a glove. Like it's too easy for Kawhi. And then at number 9, I'm gonna go with LeBron. LeBron and Kawhi was the 2 best small forwards in the league that I said in my small forwards video. I have LeBron 1, Kawhi 2. Only thing that held Kawhi back from being above LeBron was the games played, because LeBron has more games played than Kawhi does in the last 3 years. All right, I'm back now. I have to take a pause for a second to make sure I had everything I needed for a different segment later. But yeah, number 9, I got LeBron. Last deep playoff run was in 2023 when they went to the conference finals. Happened in the playoffs, was eliminated first round this past year against the Timberwolves. Could have played better. LeBron had moved down in the recent years. Still one of the top players. I could see if people want to make an argument for him not being in the top 10 anymore. I think at worst he's top 15, but I think you can still make the argument that he's still been top 10. And I don't know what the whole Anthony Davis situation was. I'm not getting into the logistics of that, because who knows who wanted that trade to happen, because that really hurt the Lakers defense. But LeBron's still been good these past few years, still made all NBA teams, has yet to miss all NBA team in his career. He probably won't make it this year if he's not returning until mid-November. So this upcoming season could be the first year in LeBron's career since his rookie year that he doesn't make the All-NBA or All-Star team. Because even with fan votes, it's still going to be a games required to eliminate that from happening. So if LeBron's not coming back till mid-November, he probably won't be an All-Star starter. He might get into the All-Star game, but he definitely won't start. And getting into the All-Star game really don't matter. That's why I mentioned All-NBA. Probably won't make an All-NBA team this year. And with him playing less games, it's like he's going to move down on this list, and that's assuming that he's still playing. He could retire after this year, but him playing less games is going to move him down definitely for next season. I can already predict that. At number 8, I have Donovan Mitchell, who's the only guy on the All-NBA first team from this past season that I don't have in my top 5. And the only thing holding Donovan Mitchell, I feel like since he's been with Cleveland, his defense has not replicated what it was in Utah. And in Utah, he wasn't an amazing defender. He was solid, but I think it's regressed slightly with Cleveland. It got better this year with them having the pieces, with them having Mobley, Allen, and a few other pieces around Donovan Mitchell. I think it improves from last year to this past season, but I still think compared to the other guys. And then he's been injured in the playoffs at the worst and most crucial times. I think that's what's holding him back as well. Like, he's amazing offensively. We know what he can do in the playoffs. We've seen what he did against Orlando in Game 7, and was a really good series a few years ago. Seeing what he was able to do this past first round and getting them to the second round, but they lost to the Pacers. And the guy that he lost to, I do have above him that I feel like outplayed him definitely from a playmaking standpoint. Donovan Mitchell, he got the points, but at numbers, and Donovan Mitchell does a lot. It's not just him scoring, but at number 7, I have Tyrese Halliburton. The Cavs just outperformed the Pacers outperformed the Cavs in that series. Tyrese Halliburton was amazing, one of the best playmakers in the league already, and just continue to improve each and every year. Multiple-time All-Star, All-NBA player. Once I think could make the argument that he should have been an All-NBA player more than once. I think it's once, but he can make. Well, obviously he's going to be out most of this season, so he'll probably move down because it's going to be other guys are just going to be playing. But if he don't move down next season, then it won't be a good look for the NBA. But Tyrese Halliburton is nice. He's one of the best playmakers. He's a good scorer. He's efficient. He could shoot more. I think that's the only gripe with Tyrese Halliburton. There's times where he's super passive when he doesn't need to be. But aside from that, there's nothing flaw with Tyrese Halliburton's game. He gives effort on defense. He tried to play through his injury in the finals, which I don't advise. But he still did what he could for his team, led them to the conference finals last year, and led them to the finals this year. So leading them to the conference finals and getting back to that stage and winning in 6 games, I think, against the Knicks, 2 or 6 or 7. But winning against the Knicks, who you also beat last year, but getting back to that conference final stage and getting your team to the finals is impressive, and pushing OKC to 7. When many people counted out the Pacers in each series they went into, whether it was the Bucks, whether it was the Cavs or the Knicks, they were counted out in each of those series until it got to the Knicks. And then they were counted out again against OKC. So in 3 of the 4 series they played in this past season, it was only one where people actually favored them in. At number 6, I have Anthony Edwards, who's led his team in back-to-back conference finals like Tyrese Halliburton has. But Anthony Edwards has underperformed in the conference finals when he's got there. But he does have some very quality playoff wins against some of the top names, against Kevin Durant, sweeping the Suns. And it's not just him doing it, but he was the key part in that series, and then them winning in 5 against the Lakers. Anthony Edwards, he brings it all, gives the hustle, brings it all on defense. But he can't underperform in the playoffs in general again, especially if he gets to another conference final. And Timberwolves haven't did nothing, so I don't know what their plan is. I'm assuming they're hoping for progression from Rob Dillingham, but I like what Edwards is doing. He's an improved playmaker. He shoots a lot of threes, but he's efficient, so I don't mind it. I know some people have a problem with that, but if he's efficient, he's shooting down there 40%. I think he's shooting 41% from 3. I don't personally have a problem with it. Like, sometimes it's not necessary for him to jack up as many threes that he does, but he's efficient when he's doing it. So it's not like he's just jacking up threes just to jack up threes. He's efficient while doing it. And then he's a good rebounder as well, 6'5" shooting guard. Anthony Edwards is great. At number 5, I still have Luka. I think I had Luka 3 last season. He's moved down. The transition to LA wasn't the greatest, had a rough start. And then it's been 3 years since his finals appearance in not his finals appearance. It's been 1 year removed from his finals appearance in 2024 when the Mavs faced off against the Celtics. And there was a kind of disappointing series from Luka and Kyrie. They both could have played better. The whole team in general could have played better. They lost in 5. But I just think Luka's grown since 2022. Well, really just each year, from being in the bubble against the Clippers and having that game winner, and they ended up losing in 6. And then to them playing the Mavs, playing the Warriors in 2022, losing in 6 there as well, and then being able to advance to the finals in 2024, leading this team, being a prominent All-Star, being a prominent All-NBA first-team player aside from this past season, and then an unexpected trade that really he had nothing to do with. Just Luka got traded. I'm sure he didn't want to leave Dallas. Then he gets traded to the Lakers, has a rough transition. So it's just one season. Like I said, he moved down 2 spots. Just a rough transition. Not a great defender at all. Still hasn't shown that. But he's shown to be a playoff riser. This season, like I said, didn't look too great. But one season is enough for me to say that he's completely fell off or anything like that. So I think it's valid to just moving down 2 spots because I still think he's a top 5 talent. He's still the best playmaker in the league, in my opinion, and he's a great scorer. At number 4, I got Jason Tatum, who's a great 2-way player. It's going to be out most of most of the season. I think he's making a very fast progression. He had 42 in Game 5 when the Celtics got eliminated, or against the Knicks. I think if he stayed healthy, they could have came back and won it. Who knows? That's my prediction. I think that if he stays healthy, they could have came back and won it. That's hypothetical, so I won't get into that. But he's a great two-way player. Does it all offensively, defensively. Never really got this thing about him being inconsistent because he's not. He's a very consistent player, and he wins the Celtics games, multiple first seeds, multiple finals, multiple conference finals appearances, been to the finals twice, and won the finals in 2024. Could have had an argument for a finals MVP. I feel like he should have won it anyways, but it is what it is, I guess. At number 3, I got Giannis, the best defender in this top 10, still one of the top defenders in the league, has consistently been that. I don't think he made an all-defensive team, which is surprising to me, because this defense is amazing. He's consistently been great defensively. He does have to carry a much bigger offensive load, and it's had to, even with Dame being there, because Dame he was injured more consistently than ever in his career when he went to the Bucks. And then and that requires more defensive efforts from Giannis and Brook Lopez as he got rid of Jrue Holiday. But Giannis, even though they didn't go far in the playoffs, he still had a good series, had to carry that team with Dame being out, coming back early, or at least I would assume it was early from the blood clot. And then had suffering a different injury and just happened to be out. So Giannis has to carry a big offensive load, and he did what he could playing next to Kyle Kuzma and KPJ at point guard. It's rough in Milwaukee. At number 2, I got Nikola Jokic, one of the best offensive minds in the game of basketball today. This guy's elite playmaker, best playmaking big man in the league, probably the second best playmaker in the league. I would say Luka, Jokic, and Tyrese Haliburton are the top 3 playmakers right now. Great rebounder, consistently getting triple doubles, breaking records. Nikola Jokic, second best. But the guy I have at number 1 is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a scoring champion, MVP, Finals MVP this past season. The previous season was a runner-up for MVP. Lost to the Mavs, where Luka outplayed Shai. And Shai, they improved that entire OKC team. They improved from that loss. So, Shai is at 1. He's good defensively. I'm surprised he didn't make an all-defensive team, and J-Dub did. J-Dub isn't a bad defender, but I think Shai would have made more sense to be on that team. But Shai does it all on both sides of the ball. He's a better defender than Jokic. So I think that's pretty obvious. But I got Shai at 1. When you win the MVP, Finals MVP, and scoring championship in one season, there's no denying how talented you are as a player. And that's now for Zips update. I'm trying to make this quick because I don't want this to go too long. With the football team, the Akron Zips, 2-5, 1-2 in the MAC conference. They got a game today against Ball State, who is 2-4. So y'all will be seeing this probably while the game is going on because it's a 3:30 game. But I want to talk about just the field goal situation going on with Akron, because Owen Wiley is 11 of 11 on extra points, but he's 4-10 on field goal range, and he's 0-4 from 40 plus. So if you're so bad from 40 plus, why don't you substitute the other kicker, who Matthew Sharam, or I might have butchered his last name, but he's 2-2 from field goal range and 2-2 from extra points. And one of his field goals was from 40 plus, and he made it. So why not start Matt and make him the prominent and starting kicker? That would just make more sense. And Akron only has 2 games where the running back had at least 100 yards rushing. Those are the only wins. But the offensive line has been bad. In conference play, they have a point differential of -49. They have a -49 point differential in conference play in just 3 games. I don't know what's going to happen against Ball State, but it might not be good. And then for the men's soccer team, the men's soccer is doing well. Men's soccer is the only sport doing well because women's soccer and the volleyball team isn't doing so hot either. I think I'm going to talk about those 2 first before I get to the soccer, because with volleyball, you got the volleyball team is 9-10. They're 2-6 in conference play, so they're 7-4 in non-conference games. So they're just great against teams that's not in their conference, which is that's great. They're 7-4 in non-conference play, but why can't you win in conference? And the thing is, they have less attack kills despite having more attempts, and less attack kills in conference play. And all these stats I'm reading is just conference play for the volleyball team. 11 more serve errors than their competition. And this has been I've seen this when recording the volleyball games, being the cameraman. This has been a constant issue throughout the season. Not just in conference play, but in general, like our serve errors are insane. And then the opposing team is just better at blocking in the conference. Like they're so much better at blocking, it's insane. Had a second worst conference record in the MAC. They defeated Ohio and Western Michigan, but Ohio is 5-4. Western Michigan is 2-7. Those are the two conference wins that we have for volleyball. How nice. And then women's soccer, like I said, 4-7-3. They're 1-5-2 in the conference. 4 games left, which are all conference games. 2 teams have winning records, which is Western Michigan and Bowling Green. But the 2 that don't have winning records is Eastern Michigan and Toledo. I don't know what those games are going to look like. It's rough. Hopefully they can win the Eastern Michigan game, despite the fact they had the same amount of wins. And the Toledo game, Toledo has 1 less win than Akron, but maybe they can win those games because Eastern, and they're probably out of the playoff picture at this point. It's probably unrealistic they make the playoffs unless they win the next 4, which isn't realistic because Eastern Michigan is 4-7-4, so that game likely ends in a draw, another draw for both teams likely. Western Michigan is 9-4-1. They'll probably win that easily. I would be surprised if Akron wins, but it is going to be played in Akron, so maybe that'll help. And then you have a road game against Bowling Green, who's 8-1-6. So that's either a win or a draw for Bowling Green. It won't be a loss. And then Toledo, who's 3-5-6. Those are the next 4 games. But let me know y'all predictions. Let me know who y'all think is going to win those 4 games. And then for men's soccer, who is actually the men's soccer team has looked good, 8-3-3, 2-1 in the conference. Got 3 games left. Last game ended up in a draw with Seton Hall, but they've had a good season, and they had an impressive win versus DePaul. Kasahasi had a game winner, but I think I feel like they could end up being. They got 3 games left, and only 1 team has a winning record. The other, but 2, but they aren't playing bad teams. But I think all 3 matchups are favorable for Akron to win. 5-4-3 Xavier, 5-5-2 Marquette, 7-3-3 Creighton. I think Akron can win all 3 of those games and finish with 11 wins and 10 at worst. I don't see them losing or drawing in any of those games. Those should be easy. Those should be wins. I won't say easy, but those should definitely be wins. And then to wrap it up with athletes of the week for the NFL, Rico Dowdle, 34 touches, 239 yards, 10 yards per play, 1 touchdown. For college football, Brian Westcott Jr., 5. And that Rico Dowdle game, the Panthers beat the Cowboys 30-27. For college football, Brian Westcott Jr., 5 receptions, 106 yards, 21.2 average and a touchdown. The Clemson's win last week. For TNA, I went with Mike Santana. He defeated Trick Williams at Bound for Glory for the TNA world title. For WWE, Russell Reed defeated Roman Reigns and betrayed Seth in the same week. Defeated Roman at a pay-per-view, betrayed Seth. Just the guy's a monster. For the MLB, Julio Rodriguez in the 5 games that Seattle was leading the series 3-2, 3 runs, 4 hits, and 5 RBIs. And for AEW, I'm gonna go with Darby Allin. He's crazy as hell, but he's had a good week. His segments have been really entertaining, and it's been a good way to progress the story between him and Jon Moxley. So that wraps it up for Weekly Sports Talk with Ed, episode 67. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know what y'all think of my opinions and stuff in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe, share for others to see. Like I said, comment your thoughts on what I talked about today, and I'll see y'all later today for the debate, for the Jon Moxley and Seth Rollins debate.